Have you guys seen these? They're like electric lighters and they do this. Yeah, it's just like a sick way to light a candle. And they make this noise that scares my cats. You know what a candle is like. Hello, it's been a minute. It is now spring, or I guess it was officially spring a little while ago, and on the spring equinox, I went to a forest and like walked around, and I was hoping to record a video, but I think I ran out of time or something, I don't know. But every time it's spring, I always have so many thoughts about it being spring. I always am so excited about all the things that I can do because it's spring, and I do them to varying degrees of success. But I noticed that a lot of people seem to engage with the idea of like New Year's resolutions around spring. And interestingly, I had written and recorded most of a video about New Year's resolutions because they're very exciting to me, and I kind of wanted to share that excitement. And it makes me a little bit sad how much people push back on New Year's resolutions, and like, I don't know, every time I bring them up as a thing I'm excited about, there seem to always be people who hate them and push back on me, like discourage me from having them. And it's a little bit upsetting because it's like, I am really excited about this. Why will no one just be happy that I'm excited about it? But I also think that there are ways in which I am bitter that other people aren't, and there are ways that other people are bitter that I am not. And, you know, I think where we can intersect in our non-bitterness is we can agree that spring is a great time to look at goals. Usually spring is where I like revisit New Year's resolutions because sometimes like some of them have been forgotten by then, or some stuff has gotten in the way. I've noticed that in my life, the month of March is always crazy. I have never had a normal month of March. March always brings weird news, bad news, good news, exciting things. It just brings busyness in a way that no other month seems to. That was certainly true through college. Part of that is just like when you play sports in the spring, March is when they really turn up. But also just in my adulthood, I don't know, spring just brings things out. And part of that is in the Midwest, everyone's been locked up for so long that, you know, they just come out of the woodwork. Like I went to a forest that when I drove by it on a day where it was like 37 degrees, I was like, oh nice, this is pretty remote. There's a lot of different spaces, a lot of different trails. I could come here, I could film, I can, you know, enjoy quiet time, have a little picnic. And then I drove back yesterday and it was not quiet. It was very busy and there were people everywhere, and like people were playing music and all this, and that's lovely. Like I am happy for people in that way, but it wasn't what I was looking for. Like I wanted somewhere quiet, and that just didn't seem possible, which is unfortunate, but also a good thing. Like it makes me happy to see community out there, but I was specifically looking for privacy. So I don't know, I need to look harder to see where I could go for that. But I did get some lovely footage that I'll show throughout this video of all the lovely things with spring. Some flowers are starting to pop up, and you know, the deer are out like I've never seen. It's awesome. In my script that I wrote, I just pushed back so hard on people who are resistant to New Year's resolutions. And now I'm kind of like, why? What's the point? If people think spring is a better time for resolution, then great. I can join them in that, and I can still get the benefit that I used to feel at New Year's resolution time when everyone would have resolutions and it would be like, hey, what if we can be buddies on this goal and we have this goal in common? Let's do these activities together. And it would be so fun and like communal, because I know a lot of people's issues with New Year's resolution is that they're not communal. But like the whole point to me is that we're all doing it at the same time, and that's what makes it communal, you know? And unfortunately, as I get older, I just think people are overwhelmed and tired and they don't really want to do that. I have found that for me to resolve is to give life meaning. It also just like gives me a sense of control over my life. One of the most interesting things that my partner says about me is that she feels a bit like she's dating a new person every couple of months. Like I change a lot, and my interests vary a lot, and how I spend my time varies. Where I am on the spectrum of masculinity to femininity varies a lot. Even just looking at this channel, I'm like, wow, I go through phases. And right now I'm in a particularly interesting kind of transition part of my life, partially because like every year, March has brought some tremendously bad news and also tremendously bad feelings. I don't know what it is. When it's spring, I tend to feel the loneliness and lack of friends more than ever. Maybe it's because I want to go out and do things. I don't know. I'll probably talk more about that in a little bit. This spring, I'm also getting married. Yeah, since the last time I posted, I think, I proposed to my girlfriend. We planned a wedding, and that wedding is happening in a couple months. Well, less than a couple months, actually. It's happening in a matter of weeks, and that's stressful as it coincides with other things happening, and everything is happening at once, but also there's some really good things. And so I'm kind of pushing back the feelings, the negative things that are happening, kind of being like, I can deal with these later. It's just kind of an odd time, right? There's that poem that always, like, I feel like I'm seeing it everywhere. That's like, I want to go back to Missouri where my sadness makes sense. And I think when I lived in California, that resonated with me really well, because it's always sunny, it's always hot and bright, and it's too bright, and the sun gives me a headache, and I have to wear sunscreen every day, and I'm sick of it, and I'm constantly being told that this is good weather. And now here, for the first time, I'm at a point where I'm like, well, I'm kind of tired of the cold. I kind of want the warmth, the heat, the sun, and I want to embrace that. And part of that is some of my resolutions are like structured in a way that allows me to pursue that as a goal. I want to be able to enjoy the heat. And so that looks like doing a lot of different things. And part of that is I think I'm a Midwesterner now. Great. And I find with spring, I just get this burst of creative energy. Like I'm painting this right now. You can't really see it, but I'll put something in. And I love it. And I love the bright color and all of that. And I am making videos for my other channel like every other day, and that's fun. It's incredibly tiring, and people are very mean to me in those comments, but the channel is about the NFL, like it's a sports channel, so you know, the comments are 95% men. Well, the viewers are 95% men, and very few of them see women as people. So, you know, that's kind of the energy I guess I've curated for myself. But back to that script I had written, one of the things that I wrote that I really stand by, because part of it, I was just like, hey, I made this video about how people should do this thing, and everyone just got defensive and didn't engage critically with what I was saying, and instead just was like, well, these are problems because they've always been problems, rather than, well, if they've always been problems, we should always be talking about them, right? Like it was just me pushing back on pushback that I thought was disingenuous. And that's one of those things where it's like, why do I need to do that? You know, I'll probably do like a deeper dive on that, because it's all about like the fear of being misunderstood, which is something I need to get through in my life. But another part of it was like, one part of being misunderstood is that when you have ADHD as a child, you are constantly told things about yourself that are objectively not true and are a reflection of how you come across to other people. Like, you might be told you're lazy, you don't work hard, you know, you can't be good at school. You might be told like, well, your grades are fine, but they should be great, when you're already putting in more effort than the kids who get great grades, if that makes sense. Or you might be told like, you're rude, you don't think about other people, you don't feel empathy, things like that, that just don't resonate with your experience of being you. And so it teaches you to not trust yourself, to not trust how you interact with other people. And I have learned that how you interact with other people is how you interact with creativity, because creativity and, I don't know if it's creativity and love or creativity and something in regards to how you relate to other people just end up being the same. And I don't quite know what that is. I've heard that James Baldwin has some writing on that. I'm going to be investigating that, but that's one of the things I want to challenge right now in you, the two people who are watching, is like, what notions do you have about yourself, especially about your flaws, and how much control do you have over them? Because I think more people have control over their flaws than they realize, and also control over their strengths. And like, I saw, I don't know if it was a tweet or text post or whatever, it said like, you can become like 95th percentile in the world in just about anything just by trying really hard regularly and doing research and teaching yourself and taking the time. And it was like, yeah, I could go and get like 95th percentile good at most things. Not everything. There are going to be some things that I'm just predisposed to not be good at, but I could probably work hard and get decent at them. Once you believe that, I think the world kind of opens up. And that's the thesis of my resolutions. I think I want my world to open up. And so I mentioned that to a coworker back in December or maybe January, I don't know. But I was like, yeah, I'm doing these resolutions. I just like want to live a more vivid life. Like I want life to be more interesting and adventurous and challenging, and I want to grow. And she was like, yeah, instead of resolutions, I do a bingo card. Like I have a 2026 bingo card. And I decided to do that too with my fiance, which is very fun and very exciting. And she drew this, obviously. My handwriting is not legible, but look how fun and exciting it is. So the top right corner, camping trip, that feels like that is almost inevitable that that's going to happen. That's one that I'm really excited about. Our free space is get married, so that's fun. We have plans for that. That's going to happen. Some of the ones I'm most excited about, grow food. I don't know if that's gonna be like herbs or if I'm gonna manage to actually grow potatoes this year. But last year, everything I tried to grow just didn't. All of it failed, so I'm gonna find some different strategies this year. Post a main channel video, guess I'll be crossing that off. Bike downtown, I want to go downtown and bike because in Chicago you hear so much about the Lakefront Trail and all that, but like, I feel like I've never actually taken the time to bike on it. I've always just walked, and now I have my own bike, so that feels kind of silly. So that's something we want to do. Oh, and I forgot to mention, this is color coded. So the green stuff is stuff we're doing together, and the orange-ish is stuff that she's doing, and then the blue is what I am doing. And so we have to like work together. And it's kind of set up in a way that we have to work together to get everything. There is nothing that one of us can do to achieve a bingo, you know what I mean? Like we have to work together, which is really fun. And then it's also accountability for the ones that we're doing by ourselves. And there's levels to it, right? Like she has to read 20 books and I only have to read 10 books because we're at very different levels when it comes to reading. But I'm really excited about this. Join something, that's something I want to do as an effort to make friends. I don't know if that's going to be like an organization around here or if that's going to be like a sports team. I've been thinking about doing that. Picnic with friends, host a party, beach trip with friends. I want to do a lot with friends, camping trip with friends. So there's a lot of exciting stuff that we need to do, and I think I'll have time this summer. I'm not sure because the other thing happening potentially this summer, honeymoon. So yeah, the excitement that I get from this, it like makes me want to push back on the idea that, you know, if you fail at something, it's like a waste of time. That's really not been my experience. There have been things that I've tried to be consistent at over and over and over again over the last like 10 years, like since I was a kid. And one day eventually I just like broke through and was able to do it. And I couldn't tell you exactly what was different that time, but some work was clearly being done like in the background while I was trying, and eventually it worked. And I can't tell you exactly what the difference was, but failing was a part of it. You know what I mean? It was like, it got me there. I have long maintained that we learn more from success than we do failure. I feel like when you're a kid, especially as an athlete, like coaches are like, you learn so much more from losing than winning. And I'm like, no, you definitely learn more from winning. In my experience, winning compounds, but if you quit after you fail, you know what I mean? Like you're never gonna get there. You have to get through it to get to it. Wow. Write that down. Would you believe that I wasn't a very good coach? And like on a little bit more of a sinister note, I feel like there is something to be said about the fact that every single bit of possible convenience in our lives is like being packaged and sold to us. Not like, oh, we're leaning on community and they're doing stuff for us or whatever it is, or like technology has developed and now life is easier, but like we are taking things that have always just been a little bit of an inconvenience in life and repackaging them and selling the right to not live that part of your life like back to us. You know what I mean? Making us broker. Yes, that's not really the point. The point is it makes us more dependent. I don't really want to be that dependent. I'm fine with being dependent on society. I'm fine with all of our interconnectedness. I don't like the dependence on the commodification of convenience. I hope that makes sense. Like, I don't want to be someone who cannot be comfortable with a life if I can't get food delivered, Uber everywhere, whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like I want to be someone who doesn't depend on that, because who knows if that stuff exists however long down the line. Because if we get the world that I want to live in, where workers are paid fairly and everybody can afford to live, like how much is a private taxi for your burrito going to be sustainable as a business model? I don't know if it is. Besides the fact that the systems we depend on may not be around forever, not participating in a system it's nice to have that option, you know. And maybe I gave bad examples, because anyone can live without food delivery outside of like extreme circumstances. But there are definitely situations where, you know, I've seen some people I know feel kind of powerless to stop spending money in a certain way, or feel kind of powerless to learn certain skills because they've just outsourced that so much because has been marketed to them. I don't want to feel powerless, and I feel like there's something about deciding that I'm going to have an adventure and most of the stuff doesn't cost that much. Well, that does. There's something to be said about, like, I don't have to spend that much money and I can make my life really good and exciting. And that just makes me more comfortable long term. I do wonder if this all isn't kind of like small potatoes, you know, which is my new favorite phrase, by the way. I like calling things small potatoes. It implies that large potatoes are like really important in all of our lives. I don't know, that feels right to me. Compared to the fact that when I'm talking about all of this like dependence, obviously you think about, you know, technology dependence. Rich people don't live like this. Like people who are closer to the technology, they don't have their kids using iPads and like they're off in the woods somewhere getting connected to nature while selling us the opposite of that. And I don't like that. I want to maintain all of the autonomy that I have. I don't want to fall into incompetence and dependence. You know what I mean? I feel like I just keep saying that over and over again. But for me, that really is what New Year's resolutions are about. They're like checkpoints in my life for reminding me of like who I wanted to be last year, who I still want to be, like what am I on the trajectory of, how have my efforts failed and how have they succeeded, and then I can look back at previous resolutions and, you know, I'm at a point where I'm like, well, that happened, and so it's why, like, when people tell me like, oh, statistically like resolutions don't come true, I'm like, yeah, maybe not within the year, but you know, maybe the 5th time you have that resolution like on your list, then it does. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of been my experience. Like life just isn't neatly packaged into years, and so New Year's resolutions, like you just don't need to live and die by the immediate success of them, and instead like focus on the general trajectory where you're going. I think this is more exciting than going, I am vaguely going to try to improve my life, not just this year, but in general. Like I just think that's kind of directionless. I don't know. So as you can see, the theme is like adventure, community, going out and doing, getting better at things, working on things, although it isn't even really about getting better at things so much as doing. And that's gratifying to me. There is also something a little bit depressing about the fact that I have the same resolutions every single year, and some of them I'm not going to talk about, but the main one that is depressing to me, especially looking at all these resolutions, the poster is right there, is like, okay, picnic with friends, barbecue with friends, host a party, join a group, camping with friends, like beach trip with friends. So many of this like depends on other people, and I just don't have that many other people. And the people I do have, in some ways I have them and in some ways I don't. I always want to be closer to people than they want to be to me. That is a theme of my life. I don't know what that is. Like I don't know what that is. It's very depressing, and I have yet to come across people who are honest enough with me that they will tell me what it is that I do wrong that deters people. I think like the closest I got with that was like, I used to have a roommate who was really honest with me, but even then, like that's only one perspective. Like I need more perspectives, just because I think she just preferred a more distant friendship. That's just how she wants to interact with the world. And I don't know how much that reflected on me. And now it's a couple years later, I still don't have close friends. So some of those resolutions pertain to that. But I think a lot of it comes down to, am I brave enough to actually like join some kind of group? Can I follow through with like, I'm gonna get in better shape so that then I can join a sports league and really enjoy myself? Because if you've played a sport while being terribly out of shape, there's not a lot of enjoying yourself that happens. So I need to figure that out. I want friends with common interests, and a lot of my friends don't really have common interests or don't have common experiences because I met them through my partner, which means they have more in common with her than me, and then I'm secondary. You can see how I get like worked up about this stuff, but I look at everything around me when I'm in nature and I feel such hope and connection. I'm reading Braiding Sweetgrass, which is a book that I feel like every leftist reads at some point. She talks about seeing nature as very alive and seeing it as our, not just ancestors, but like relatives, because we all evolved from, you know, the same life form. And so of course we all are related. Of course you're related to the trees a little bit. Like, even if it's tiny, isn't there some community there? But I'm just kind of like, why does that resonate with me? But then community with other people doesn't. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna keep reading that book. I think there's something interesting there. She talks a lot about giving gifts. And that's something I want to think about as a means to make friends. Like, can I do more for other people and give more to other people? Or do I already kind of do that and I give too much of me? And then that's like too much for people and they don't want that. I don't know. I can't tell. That's the other problem. I just can't tell. And so I just have to go out and risk rejection over and over again and hope that that doesn't beat me down too much. I don't know. There's not a solution. It's not great. So if anyone has tips on making friends, I will 100% take it, especially if you live in Chicago or anywhere in the Midwest, especially if you're queer. How are queer people meeting other queer people? Every queer person, like their whole friend group is queer. And I've lucked into a lot of the people associated with my partner are queer, but a lot of them even are associated with her family. So I'm like, wait, so we just got like really lucky here, which is great. How do I go and actually make queer friends? I haven't figured it out. If I think about it too much, I find it really sad. Part of my I believe that I can change thing and I believe everyone can change and we are more in control than we think is also my belief that you know, if I think that I'm not good at making friends, I'm not good at keeping friends, and I have this lifetime of evidence, if I actually believe that I can change, that I'm not just telling you guys that you can change, I have to continue to try then. I have to continue to figure out in what direction I need to go to figure it out. And that's my challenge for me. And I think that's what a lot of these ideas come down to, is like, go on adventures and find people to go on them with. And I have to accept that it's going to be awkward and weird and all of that. I still don't know literally where to encounter people in a way that makes it okay to socialize with them. I don't know how that works, especially because I don't love drinking or like spending a lot of money. I mean, I do like drinking, but you have to spend a lot of money and I don't love that. So if anyone has tips, any of the three of you who are watching, yeah, I got another viewer. Hey, last time it was 2. It's just like, it's sad because I keep getting the overwhelming instinct to like make a dessert. Like, I was at the store and I was like, oh, I'm gonna get these Rice Krispies, they're on sale. Oh, and then I'll get marshmallows, and then I'll use food coloring and I can dye different sections and I can make these cute little things and I can make them like spring themed, and then I'll give them to all my friends. But then I get on that last one and I'm like, do you have enough friends that you could text and would answer and also would kind of be around and would want this, that this would like increase your connection with them? Do you have enough of that? Not really. Realistically, you would make this stuff and maybe 1 or 2 people you could give that to, and I'd be really grateful for that. But then I would just kind of have too much dessert. And I mentioned I'm trying to get in shape, so making a bunch of dessert doesn't really lend itself to that. So yeah, that's a little depressing. It's like, it's just one of those, like, I have a lot of love to give and not a lot of places to put it, and makes me deeply sad. And I'm not thinking much about that because also I had my wedding shower and it was such a strange sensation to look around in the room and be like, these people are all so happy for me and my partner. They're so happy for us and they're so loving and kind and good and all of that. And we're having a relatively small wedding. I think it's going to be like 60 people, probably fewer, but all of those people are great and are like showing up for me or for both of us. And that's really fortunate. But I cannot turn away from the like relentless optimism that spring brings me. Like, I will go to the forest again and it will be lovely. And I'll see deer and I will see squirrels and I'll see the trees that now have the little buds of spring on them. And that's going to make me so happy. And I will just continue to be creative, to look for adventure, to take chances, to do everything that I can possibly do. And maybe I can get some people to come with me. So let me know if you have tips on that. I'm sorry if this ended up being kind of a depressing video. I have more scripts that I'm working on, but you know, I also am going to treat this like I am talking to a friend, because sometimes like 20 people watch these videos and sometimes I get like, I mean, I've gotten a couple thousand a couple times, which is odd. On my other channel, on my football channel, I regularly get like 2,000 to like 3,000 views, and it makes me a little sad, because I think on this channel, I might see like cool, thoughtful, nice people. And on that channel, it's just like mean, angry men who are like, what do you mean you think that this player is better than that player? That means you're fundamentally stupid, or whatever it goes in their little pea brains that are just filled with football or something. Here is where my painting is right now. It is the shadow of a tree on a building, which is why the window is in front of the tree, because that's not actually a tree. I don't love the color right now. I think I'm gonna change it a bit, but I'm having a lot of fun painting it, and it's nice to do something creative. So yeah, if any of my friends watch this and want to come paint with me, I would love that and appreciate that. Also, let me know if you want Rice Krispies. I said I was trying to get in shape, but I'm gonna make them anyway. Hey, can you guys watch her real quick?